Hello, I'm here. I'm going to do some live stuff after the front page tech thing, just like I did last week. It's 10 o'clock. I'm feeling angry today. Angry. What do you think about that? I'm angry. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I've got a rant video already finished. I edited it, and it's like, for some reason, it's all janky. But I feel like I have to talk about this Bendgate thing. What up? I don't know why I'm choppy. I don't know why. I think it's yeah. The Talos of Tech video just really sent me over, and I can't decide if I want to rant here or if I want to just release the video. But I'm angry. So let me see if I can figure out why this is messed up. I mean, I look great on my end. I look great. Is it better now? Okay. Am I still choppy? I don't know. I'm looking at myself, but I can't figure it out. So here we are. Wait, no, I want to pop out the chat window. Because I freaking hate. Why does this always have to be white? Why can't it be dark? Why can't it be dark? Pop out chat. Okay. Still choppy? I have no idea what's happening. Sorry. Zach, I didn't know you were going to go live. John was just like, if PhD goes live. So I was like, yeah, okay. I don't know why the freaking thing is choppy. It won't stop. So my stream health seems to be good. It says my viewers are happy. But I'm watching. Punch the camera. That would work. Mo, how you doing? It was hot as hell in Iowa today too. It was like 95 degrees. So, I don't know. I'm gonna unplug and replug in the camera. So I'm gonna go away for a second. Christian, how are you? All right. So, what is this? Yeah. Do you guys want me to rant on here or do you want me to upload the video that I made? That's the big question. So, did my camera pop back in? Yeah. Okay, there it is. So, I look great here. This is brilliant. Over here, it's choppy. I don't understand. So, where did my chat go? Now I gotta find the chat again. This is so confusing. I could just punt and use my friggin' C922, but I don't want to. Okay. Where'd the chat go? Come back to me, chat. Come back to me. Everybody's like, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is he doing? There, that's not the chat. Now my mouse is disappearing. I think I'm gonna have to reboot the computer, people, because now my mouse has disappeared, which is freaking annoying, and my keyboard's not working. I gotta reboot the computer. I'll start the stream again. Sorry, I'm sorry, but that's what has to happen. So I'll be back. Am I back on this thing? All right, come on, go to the dashboard. I feel like people are watching me, and so trying to get back. This Macintosh, this whatever iMac, is pissing me off. That's just what it's doing. It's pissing me off. Dashboard. Go to the dashboard. Oh boy. Okay. Go to live streaming. Am I streaming? Hello? Is there anybody there? Okay. I feel like I'm back. Maybe. I can't see myself yet. Am I still video output low? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain streaming. So, I'm back again. I don't know why my stream health is not good. Come on. Are you guys having potentially serious viewing issues? It might be because I just booted my computer back up. This iMac, like, if I do anything to USB while I'm using my Bluetooth stuff, it shuts off the Bluetooth. Like if I insert a USB something, it shuts off the Bluetooth. I don't understand that at all, and it's really freaking annoying. Okay, so I don't want to look at myself. I just want to chat. Where were we? We were talking about ranting. Is that something we want to do? I mean, it's not 20 FPS on my side. I'm 60 FPS on here. Well, guy, you know, I've decided. I tried to do the PC thing, and creative apps on PC were just annoying, but peripherals not working is annoying too. You thought I was the tech guy? I guess I'm a tech guy. Well, Jude, sounds like you had a nice vacation. I'm glad you're joining the stream. What about Mr. Mobile? AMN? Well, you could hit me with questions. I made a video about the Taylor's of Tech video about why are we talking about Bendgate again. And the problem that I have with that video is that it willfully ignored what the problem was and talked about other things. So I don't know if this is the place to go off on that or if I should just go with the video. Anyway, so why don't you guys hit me with some questions and maybe I'll rant a little bit later. You want to hear unbiased opinions? Well, I think I have those. What do you want the unbiased opinions to feature? What is the feature set that you want? Yeah, I've been having to reboot this iMac literally every day. And my MacBook Pro that I use for my job, I can go months without rebooting it. But this thing is buggy as hell. So, thank you, guy. The Apple situation. You mean when Apple lied? Is that what you're talking about? Apple lied? and so they lied, which really ticks me off. So, is that what you're questioning, Jonathan? I know I have hardware issues. Here's the weird thing. This is the second time that I've bought a 2017 5K iMac 27-inch with the 580 and the upgraded i5. And it's the second time I've had issues with Bluetooth and things being wonky. And it's really pissing me off. I feel like I need to just like clean install everything, but that would be painful. Well, I agree, GB. They knew from their own internal documents, they knew that the iPhone 6 was going to they knew that the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus had 3 and 7 times greater a chance of bending than their previous products. That was in their internal documentation before the product was released. And then within 48 hours, I'm gonna join the Discord, Malico. I tried to get on there and my computer was wonky, and so I had but I'll be there. I'll be there. I haven't seen this Nazi Lab video. It popped up in my feed today, and I haven't yet seen it. So I'm gonna watch it though. It's one of those that I wanted to save for when I could like sit down and actually enjoy. I can't. No, I think that they definitely had like the leather cases. What's up, Gus? Thank you for the $5 chat, man. I appreciate it. What's my favorite D brand skin? The one that never comes to me, that stays far away. So I'm scrolling, trying to make sure that Oh yeah, what I was saying is that I had for my iPhone 5, or I think it was I had an iPhone 5, and I definitely had a leather case, Apple branded leather case for my iPhone 5. So so yeah, they had cases before, but this is kind of now like even worse than the Steve Jobs "you're holding it wrong" thing. Zeke, I'm not surprised that Apple didn't tell the truth, but what pisses me off is that they acted like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened when Bendgate started. And then touch disease was a direct product of Bendgate, and they knew that. And they decided to charge their customers $150 to fix their phones, even though Apple knew that the propensity of that phone to bend was directly related to the chips coming loose from the logic board and therefore causing touch disease. They knew this, and they still didn't own up to it, and they still charged their customers money. That's what pisses me off. And that's what, like, Drew, like, willfully ignored that in his video and just ranted on about, nobody holds their phone like this. It's like, what? It's not even an issue. And that's what got me pissed off. Well, I'm more frustrated. Like, it doesn't surprise me that this comes out. What surprises me is that, I like Drew a lot, and I like his channel, but this is the second or third time that he's made these reaction videos where he pretends that the issue that's at hand, Apple lying, is not what we're talking about, and he talks about something else, and then he says he can't understand why this is such an issue again. It's an issue because now we know they lied and they screwed over their customers by basically stealing money from them to fix a problem that Apple was responsible for. So. Well, what Apple does is not news. But what Apple doesn't do is news. The fact that they lied is a big deal because it cost a lot of people money, and it made a lot of people upgrade their phones when maybe they wouldn't have. It all worked out really great for Apple. They made money on their problem. But now we know that they knew. Zach, you're right, man. That's the thing. Like, I want Drew to be able to call a spade when it comes to this stuff. Like, if it's clear that lying occurred and screwing over the customers occurred, then don't make a shadow argument that goes around the issue. You have to kind of call them out. Even if you're the biggest Apple sheep in the world, you can't tell me that you are not, that you're okay with lying, that you're okay with, fleecing the customers. I can't believe that that's the stance that Drew would take. And if it is, it's really disappointing. Anyway, that's like, well, I'm complaining about him because this most recent video is worthy of complaint. I think he was way off base with how he handled the news that was in front of him. He didn't handle it. He ignored the news and went on a rant about people bending their phones and how it wasn't a big deal. So that's that. I mean, Drew has typically been, he's had moments where he's been balanced with his coverage of Apple, but this one just like totally jumped the shark. And he wasn't dealing in reality. So that's what really frustrated me. And I hope the video for that is okay. Like, my freaking camera is, I think it was because something was messed up with the USB, and that's why my camera was all choppy. Ugh. So, yeah, I mean, this all goes with me saying that I love Apple as well. I use Apple products on a daily basis. But when it's clear that they were in the wrong, when it's clear that they had information before they even released the phone and then act shocked when it all of a sudden doesn't, like, all of a sudden it's bending. Wow, I could never have imagined that. That's one thing. But then the bending of the phones is what was directly the cause of touch disease. And that cost people money. And it cost people, it caused people to upgrade early, all this other stuff. So it's just like with the battery thing. You can come up with a really plausible explanation for what Apple might have been doing. It's like, oh, well, they're just trying to, look out for their customers and make sure that they have battery left in their phone. You can say that. But there's also the flip side of that, which is Apple wants their customers to think their battery is dead and there's nothing to do about it except buy a new phone. And that's not cool. If Apple was just trying to do everybody a solid by making sure that their batteries were going to last and not leave them hung out to dry, then hello, front page tech. If they were going to do that, then why wouldn't they announce like, hey, you know, we've noticed this issue as batteries start to get older, it becomes a problem and they die faster. So we're going to slow down the phone a little bit so you have all day battery. But no, they didn't say that. They didn't say that. They got caught slowing people's phones down and then blew a bunch of smoke up at everybody's a-hole because they didn't want to admit that they were doing shady shit. And that is not cool. I don't care how much I like the company or their products or anything else. That is simply not cool. Well, AMN, the thing about Samsung is, and this is a point that Drew made, and it's a valid point, but it has nothing to do with the issue. It's a valid point that is not related to the Bendgate issue whatsoever. Samsung doesn't support their phones in nearly the same fashion as Apple does. You know, the iPhone 6, whether it's bent or not, is still gonna get iOS 12, and my wife has a Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge that still hasn't gotten Android 8. And like, that's really freaking lame. And I feel like maybe you're lucky with Samsung, LG, the other like secondary manufacturers of Androids. Drew is going ham on me. What does that mean? Is he like ranting about me someplace? Good. So, I mean, that's the problem with like the Pixel and the Pixel 2 XL. Like these phones will be supported for at least 3 years. That's cool. That's cool. But I don't know. Apple, I mean, I'm just so freaking pissed. Well, Samsung, to their credit, I mean, the biggest problem that they had, the biggest issue that they had was the exploding Note 7s. And they handled that from a marketing standpoint and from a customer service standpoint. They handled that textbook. They did everything right with that situation. And that's why people still buy Samsung phones. If Samsung had been like, no, it's cool, it's fine, it's not going to blow up, and then phones started blowing up, and they still, like, this is what, basically, the Note 8, the Note 7 blowing up, and Samsung taking responsibility for it, trying to fix it, and then yanking the phones off the market, is the exact opposite of what Apple did in this Bendgate. With Bendgate, they pretended that they couldn't even fathom that it would be a problem. But yet they knew that it was potentially a problem. So that's a great example. Samsung with the Note 7 did everything right, took care of their customers, and earned people's trust back. And Apple did the other thing. So, Jake, I have to see what the 2018 MacBook Pro is going to look like. I mean, what issue? I'm not sure. I have to see what Apple does with the MacBook Pros. If there's a touch bar, then I'm not interested, because the touch bar was a stillborn idiotic idea that didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, didn't make any sense, and still is useless 2 years later. So if they keep going with the touch bar, not interested. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to go buy a Windows laptop. So I'll use my 2015 MacBook Pro until they release another computer that is of the same quality as that 2015 MacBook Pro. Well, marketing, Trenton, that's what marketing is designed to do. Marketing is designed to make people want to buy the phone. A subset of people will also look at the specifications of the phone and shop for it and make sure that they're doing something that makes sense. But the majority of people see the shiny thing in the commercial and they buy it. That's what Apple is good at. And they've been good at it for a long time, although their ad stuff in the past like 4 or 5 years has really been crap. Like no 1984 like Big Brother shit is coming from Apple. Yeah, see, John, that's what I'm talking about. If Apple had done what Samsung did, if Bendgate would have happened and they realized that it was going to be not just a problem with the phones bending, but also a problem with it, functioning, the phone functioning later down the line, then they should have said, this is a problem. We got to take it back. I mean, maybe it's not quite the same issue because Samsung's phones were catching on fire and Bendgate was not really a fire. But that's the thing. That's the thing that I think Apple keeps missing. And if they don't figure it out, then eventually people are just going to get pissed at them. And, So wait, did somebody say that Drew was saying bad things about me somewhere, or was I imagining that? I got my wife a Lenovo Yoga 720, and it's a great computer for her. She does, productivity work that doesn't require heaps of performance, and she can do it anywhere in the house. It's thin, it's light, it works great for her. The PC laptop that I would want would probably be a gaming laptop, which would weigh 15 pounds, and I don't trust Razer. I don't trust Razer to make a really reliable computer, and I've heard there are issues with the Razer laptops, but those are probably the closest thing to a PC MacBook. But well, Paul, I understand what you're saying there. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not like ripping on Drew for any other reason than I think he sort of willfully missed the argument that was there to be made, and he addressed something entirely different in that video and made it seem like it was no big deal, when to me, lying about the stability of your device when it's more likely to be able to break, and then a subsequent issue arises from that issue, that's lying. That's lying. And so I felt like I was in bizarro land when I was watching his video. And the thing is, Paul, yes, he knows his demographic, but if he's going to make commentary, if he's going to do commentary and respond to things and all that kind of stuff, he has to at least address the actual argument and issue that's on the table at the moment, and not make something that goes around in circles and doesn't address it at all. And that's what he did in this most recent video, and that is not cool. Yeah, no, Tommy, you're right. I bought the Note 8 outright because they had that $425 I guess we're sorry fee in there. So yeah, I bought the Note 8 because it was a much cheaper buy for me, and that's great customer service. That's saying, okay, we screwed up, but now we're we've already taken it back. We've already done the responsible thing. We want you guys to remain loyal customers. So here's a discount. Leo, it has nothing to do with whether you carry your phone in your back pocket. Drew didn't address the issue at hand. The issue at hand was Apple lied, and then they stole from their customers. Okay? Drew didn't address that at all in his video, and that's the problem. Leo, you're not understanding. It's not that the phone bent or could bend. It's that Apple lied, and then they stole. They didn't take responsibility for the mistakes that they made, and they put it on the customers, and now we know. This class action suit is why we know. The class action suit is what revealed the information that we now know, that the iPhone 6 was 3 times more likely to bend than the previous product, and the iPhone 6 Plus was 6 times more likely to bend. I love Drew as well. Drew has, you know, I've had great conversations with Drew. He's a really good guy, and 90% of the time I like his content, but he's done this a couple of times now where he just sort of goes off and circles around an issue and says, I can't believe people are making an issue about this. And he misses the point entirely. And that's what, that's what I want him to be better at. You know, I want him to be able to make the commentary and the editorial comments that he needs and wants to make, but actually make them effectively. So that's, you know, it's weird because I'm 46 years old and he's 20. And if I was where he is now doing this, then I would make some missteps as well. And I probably make missteps here all the time. However, like, I've got the benefit of 26 more years of experience. And so yeah, that's my issue with his video. So should I stop talking about Drew now? Yes, Jose, you're absolutely right. That's what I was thinking of when I said he's done this before. The Linus video was, the first one that he made was like way out there, like just not even really like talking about the same thing. He did come back and make a much more like metered, calm, and really decent video a couple of days later, but that first one was like, woo. And I, you know, maybe just like cut down on the coffee, something, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Apple claimed that it was a stronger, like it was a strong design. That was their claim. And when it was proven that it had a design flaw that could easily be, that could easily happen to anyone. Like, yes, I agree that nobody's like trying to bend their phone. However, the chronology of, like, say, Unbox Lou's Bendgate video was not like Unbox Lou is like, I just think maybe the iPhone will bend, and so I'm going to try it, and then I'm going to get 70 million views. No, people were reporting, and it was in the news that the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were bending. So then Lou had the great idea to go ahead and test the theory and see how much it would or would not bend. And he sort of brought it all to light. That's where his channel really took off. I mean, he got 70 million plus views on that Bendgate video. So Drew's Linus video was interesting, but it was, you know, there were some things about it that even Drew admitted later weren't necessarily that went a little far. And so he came back and made another video where he was more more deliberate, more metered out, and that video sort of, he expressed his thoughts better. Why are we talking about this again? Bendgate. I always feel like I'm saying Ben Gay. Well, Paul, I think that there is a difference between extreme bias and, well, I wouldn't say false facts. I would say like willfully ignoring the argument at hand and making a different argument because you can't defend Apple against what they've done in this case. Zach is back. Nice. Yeah, Trenton, I saw that Snazzy Labs video on my feed today, and I didn't have time to watch it. I wanted to be able to, like, luxuriate in like my YouTube salon and watch that video because I'm very interested to see what it's all about. So yeah, I mean, I love that Drew wears his love for Apple on his shirt sleeve, and he readily admits his bias, and that's all good. That's a good thing to have out in front so your audience knows where you're coming from. But I think if you're going to be an Apple-centric channel, you have to also be able to say when Apple has clearly crossed the line. You have to be able to say, okay, I'm the biggest Apple fan that there is, but this is not cool. See, but every company is a company ran by humans, Leo. All stuff is made by humans. And it matters what those humans do if they in fact make an error. It's called ethics. Ethics is what matters in this case. Guz, why not stop talking about drama? Because it really matters to me. It matters to me that somebody whose work I respect, that he then is able to understand that he's not seeing the issue, and maybe willfully so, maybe not. I can't say, but that's why we're talking about this. Apple's never going to go utilize Google Assistant. They're going to stick with Siri, and they're going to go down with the ship. Yes, Leo, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not cool that they lie about it. It's especially not cool that lie then compounds into, there's another issue, and that issue costs people money. And that just shows that Apple, for some reason, has chosen not to do right by their customers. And to me, from an ethical standpoint, I don't know how you could sort of stand up and defend yourself from that, or how anybody could. And that's what Drew's video did, and that's what really got me going about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm a businessman and I want to grow my YouTube channel, so, but I want to do it ethically. I want to do it, honestly. I want to do it so that if I want to say, like, the company that I've supported for all this time did something that's not cool. Like Viper here is a huge Apple fan as well. He's calling out Apple for being wrong on this issue and not standing up for what they already knew was a problem. So it's about the ethics. It's about the ethics. And I do hope that, a lot of times people talk about, they take the idea of capitalism, right? Which is an economic system, and they conflate it with democracy. Democracy and capitalism are not the same thing. So Apple is using like the slippery slope arguments of, well, in a utilitarian world, we got the result that we wanted. You know, so oops, whatever. Yeah, Leo, it is hard to like it is hard to take the blinders off and see, because I mean, you invest. Apple is a company that has grown to be sort of more than a company. It's a lifestyle, but it's also, people are emotionally attached to that company. And I'm one of them. I have been in the past, and I still am, you know, somebody who really likes Apple's products. But yeah, sometimes that's what I hope everybody is able to do, is to see clearly that is to see clearly that it's important to be able to see right from wrong. So ethics are confusing. Like, you should actually, you know, maybe I used to teach ethics. Okay. So it's a topic that I've studied. It's, you know, I work in a medical school and I teach people writing, and sometimes that's talking about ideas, and those ideas are tricky, and you have to figure out what the right side of the line is to be on. And a lot of times young people it's easier to take the utilitarian view of like, well, as long as it gets me where I'm going, then it's cool, right? But it's not. Freddie, I love my Pixel 2 XL as well. Apple products, well, Apple products will sell good or bad. I mean, report back to me when the HomePod, I mean, the HomePod was a disaster. Sales numbers terrible. Nobody's buying it. It's a good sounding speaker, but it's a day late, a dollar short, and lacks the features that their competition does. Their competition already has. So the HomePod, in many ways, is just a joke. No, Canadian Bicycle, what you have to understand is, like, Tim Cook has done a fantastic job with Apple. If you, to look at it in a certain way, Tim Cook was the guy who got the supply chain going, and under his watch, they've John was saying this on the FPT podcast, that they've really figured out how to cover every segment of the market and have a phone for everyone. And that's all Tim Cook. I mean, Steve Jobs would never have allowed 2 iPhones to come out in 1 year. You know, Steve Jobs would never have allowed them to like have 8 iPhone models available at once. Tim Cook is more of a you know, dollars and cents guy. And that's why, like, somebody said earlier that Steve Jobs wasn't ethical. Um and that might be true from a business standpoint, but a lot of what drove Steve Jobs, sometimes to his own detriment, was his desire to like be uncompromising in how he built, in how he envisioned and delivered the products. Um, Apple, under anyone else's leadership, you know, Apple would have never survived past 1980. But Steve Jobs was like a megalomaniac, and he would not accept no for an answer, and he just kept pushing, and he pushed everybody around him to the brink of insanity. But you know, he accomplished what he set out to do, which everybody said would be impossible. And and I'm not trying to like conflate Steve Jobs into some sort of deity or something, but you know, I admire the way that he did what he did. Now, did he do everything right? Was he a nice guy? Did he do everything above board? No. But he was driven, and I guess I admire driven people who won't stop. If the Pixel 3 is bezel-less, as in no notch, then Google is on the right track. Like right now, and I've said this in the video that I did about the Pixel 2 XL with the Android P beta. Android P beta is really working well, even as a beta, and I really like that they've added gesture-based input and everything like that. And if they come out with a phone that has no notch and it's all bezel, then I think that they might be onto something. It might be the first Pixel that actually gains gains market share outside of the niche of people who like geek out about smartphones. So there was a question up there that I wanted to catch. Trying to find it. All right. Oh, so who do you think Microsoft should buy Essential? No, I don't. I mean, because we already know Microsoft can make a phone. What I think Microsoft should do is come back around and have a Surface phone that is of a piece with their entire Surface line, and then like that's where I see the space for Microsoft to get into the phone business again. I don't know if they will. The problem with Windows Phone was that they couldn't get the app developers to develop for the thing. So it was kind of a mess. But yeah, I've got another rant, and I see here Pixel 3 no headphone jack. Yeah, I've lost my patience with wireless headphones, especially for like commuting, walking, doing mobile things. And that's another rant that I've got that maybe I'll rant into my camera again tomorrow talking about that. I think Essential, I've heard people say Essential is the perfect company for Amazon because Amazon clearly didn't do well making their own phones. But Essential is a really good, solid phone that they could just grab it and take it over, and Amazon could just then have, instead of selling other people's phones, then they could they could do that. That's what they do, but they would have their own phone. The last thing they should do though is put like some sort of Amazon specific skin over top, because that would be stupid. Hey Ronald, how you doing? Good to see you, man. Glad you're catching it. I can speak. I really can. Yeah, the charging is the problem with wireless headphones, and the fact that they can fail miserably, which I had happen to me the other day. I went out to walk my dog. Well, my dogs. Walking 3 dogs at once is a pain. Is not easy, anyway. But I had the Zolo Liberty earbuds that I reviewed a while back in my head, and they kept making this like we're out of battery boopy boopy sound. And I was like, I just took them out of the charging case. They shouldn't be out of battery. I looked at the phone, and one thing I like about the Pixel is it will tell you how much charge your wireless device has. And it said 90%, but 10 minutes into my walk, they totally died. And I like to listen to podcasts or audiobooks or something like that. Like I take an hour or something long walk with my dogs, and that's sort of my getting into a different headspace kind of unwinding thing. And I like to do it with something in my ears. And they died, and I was SOL. So I think that trading the headphone jack, which is never going to fail, it's never going to run out of battery on me. It's never going to, like, trading that straight up for something that is not a fully baked technology is, well, it's not because it sounds better. Let me put it that way. The AirPods, I had no problems with the AirPods. And they do work great. They don't sound all that good. Um, which I, I mean, they sound good enough to listen to podcasts and audiobooks, but I would not listen to music with the AirPods. Yeah, I think if Amazon puts ads on their if they do in fact buy Essential or any other phone and start making their own phones, if they do the thing that they do with the Kindles or the tablets that they have or anything like that, it's just going to piss people off because nobody else is doing that, and Amazon is just going to have to buckle down and say, okay, well, nobody's doing that. We're gonna sell this phone for 500, $450, whatever, and yeah, it's a good phone for that price, and it could be better. So yeah, the AirPods, like, the thing that I liked about them most was, of all the wireless headphones that I've ever used, um, they worked exactly how they were supposed to. There was no like, oh my god, why isn't it connecting? I have to dig into my Bluetooth settings. Oh, what the fuck is going on? Like, that's what really annoys me about the majority of Bluetooth anything. But the AirPods never had that problem. Now, you you could also get, but they had no isolation, so if you were commuting, that was not all that great. But if you want something like the AirPods, but you want sound isolation, that has the W1 chip, all that kind of stuff, um, then the Beats X are really a pretty good headphone. Now, I see you guys up there sort of knocking down Beats. I will say this: the first time I bought a pair of Beats was probably like, you know, 10 years ago when it was still Dr. Dre, Beats, made by Monster, etc., etc. I got the Solos. I took them out of the store and I sat in my car in the parking lot and I put them on and I started to play something, and they sounded like so much ass that I just put them back in the box. I walked back in the store and I returned them. Since Apple has purchased Beats, I haven't tested a headphone from that company, whether it's the Beats Solo 3 or the Studio Wireless or the Beats X. I haven't tested a headphone that I disliked. Are they like, like flat as a board, razor straight, like reference headphones? No, but they're good headphones, and with the W1 chip, which I think is the magic special sauce that that makes Bluetooth feasible. They make really good headphones. Um, if you can find like the new Solo or the new Studio Wireless, like I think they're $350. They're $350 at full price, but you can often find them at like 250 or even 200 sometimes on sale. They have noise canceling. They're very comfortable. They sound pretty good, and they are more reliable than most Bluetooth headphones that I've tried because they have the Apple technology. See, Leo, I think you're right about. I don't know what Apple's strategy has been with Malika. Thanks for being here, man. Um, I don't know what Apple's strategy has been with how they've handled Siri, because Siri has been like, your second cousin that got dropped on his head when he was a baby and never got better. A little bit slow, can only do certain things, and Apple seems to be fine with that. I mean, they made the HomePod and they made that Siri even stupider, more stupid. Um, so and in the video I made the other day, what I was talking about was the Google Assistant is already 900,000 times better than Siri. And with duplex and all the stuff that's coming out, they are lapping Apple at this point. They've lapped Apple like 2 or 3 times. So if Apple doesn't catch on to the voice assistant thing and really start, because I'm starting to see now with like 2 HomePod minis and a Home Max, they're not HomePod minis, but Google Home minis. I'm starting to see how the voice assistant in the home, right now it's with separate devices, but eventually it's going to be built into everything, and you're just going to have voice assistant all over your house. And Siri is nowhere near ready for that prime time. It is like, I never use Siri because 9 times out of 10 it's like, you ask Siri like, hey Siri, what's this, and the answer will be, I found this on the internet for you. I found this on the internet. It's like, I could search the internet, Siri. I could search the internet. You're supposed to do something more than what I could do by myself. So Drew always talks about, if you want Google Assistant, you can download it from the App Store, but I've done that, but it's just another app. What Drew is not saying is that with the majority of Android phones, Google Assistant is baked in and can be used to really integrate with the phone. Siri doesn't do that as well. Siri will send texts for you and other stuff, but I can have a conversation with Google Assistant that it continues to understand. And once duplex happens, like, shit's gonna get scary. I don't know why. That's the thing. I think Apple has, for some reason, just had a blind spot where they don't see the interactive device thing as being as important as it clearly is going to be. The next wave of smartphone development and technology development is going to be integration of your technology into every aspect of your life. It's going to be in your clothes. It's going to be, it's going to be in your walls. It's going to be everywhere. And if Siri is not ready for that prime time, then Apple is going to miss that boat, and it's going to be bad for them. Siri is a Ford Pinto. Google is a Ford Mustang. Well, speaking of things that blow up, yes, the Ford Pinto was perhaps not a great design. And you know what Ford did when they realized that the Pinto could explode when hit in the rear? They took it off the market. They made a decision. They took it off the market. Mustang is a great car. I'm more of a Chevy guy. I drive Jeeps now. I don't really know why, but I do. Tech for your needs. I thought you were going to say Google Assistant understands me better than my wife or something, than my girlfriend, which would have been funny. Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable if I'm in my car and I activate Google Assistant and I say call my wife, or I say send a text to so and so saying this, then I have confidence that that's going to happen. Yeah, what do you drive, guy? What do you drive? Because I used to have an old Grand Cherokee that was falling apart, and then I got a Renegade, and then I upgraded to a Cherokee, and I just kind of wish that I could afford a Grand Cherokee, but I can't. You're more of a Ferrari guy, but you can't own one. What, you don't got $250,000 hanging around? Maybe you could put that on payments. Can you trust Austin Evans? Now, I'm not going to give away. I'm not going to give away future Can You Trusts. The Tundra is a nice truck. Cortana does have a very sultry voice. I'll give you that, but I don't know that Cortana is really is probably further behind than Siri is. So yeah, if Scarlett Johansson was the voice of holographic Siri, then that would be good. I think a lot of people would be into that. What if you could just I'm a huge fan of Blade Runner, and Blade Runner 2049 basically had this holographic, sort of person that you, and I don't think that's as far away as we might think that it is. Yeah. I got the Renegade I got the Renegade guy because that was what was coming in the place of the Liberty, and I like the Renegade, but I couldn't fit guitars in the back, and that's really what I need to be able to do. So so I drove it for a year. I always do stupid things like, oh, I have a lease on this car. It's a 3-year, 4-year lease, whatever it is. I don't want it anymore. It costs me a lot of money, and I'm stupid. Leo, I think it's coming. I think it's coming. Yeah, Sofia Vergara's voice would not be bad either. I mean, I was joking around, like I tweeted at MKBHD because he was talking about John Legend as a voice for Google Assistant, and he was like, "What about Morgan Freeman?" To me, like the perfect person to be like a voice for Google Assistant would be like James Earl Jones. If James Earl Jones, like if you had Darth Vader with that voice talking to you as your assistant, like that would be something. Siri needs to, like, basically I look at it this way. Siri is like, in 5th grade and has been held back a year. And Google Assistant is graduating high school and about to go on to Stanford. And yeah. So I have not seen Solo yet. I was going to go today, but I was doing a podcast with somebody, and there wasn't enough time between when the movie started and when I needed to be home for the podcast. So I don't, yeah, Morgan, man, I can't believe, I mean, I guess I can believe, and it is something that should happen. Like if you've been somebody who has taken advantage of people in whatever way, you should be made accountable for it. But Mr. T voice pack would be cool. But yeah, Morgan Freeman, I mean, he's one of those guys. I always just had this vision of Morgan Freeman being like, I don't know. It's so hard to talk about that stuff. So Dr. DeVoe, how many everyday people try to tell you how tech works? It's not usually I that doesn't happen to me. I usually end up being the guy that's like in Best Buy or in the Verizon store or wherever, and I'm hearing the people that work there talk to their customers, and I think like everything you're saying is wrong. I should interrupt you, but I don't, because I don't want to be that asshole. Mo, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. I Justin Kelly, I do not know what the problem with Siri is. It's like they bought Siri, they bought the company that had the technology, they put it in the phone, and now for years they've just not done anything with it. And to me, that should be like a major focus. Yeah, Mr. T was like, Okay, so this is how old I am. Mr. T was a huge, like, I was a big Mr. T fan. I remember Rocky 2. Was Rocky 2 with Mr. T? No, was Mr. T in Rocky 2 or Rocky 3? Anyway, I saw the majority of the Rocky films in the theater, and then when Mr. T was on the A team, like I was all about Mr. T. Um, but you know, it's one. It was Rocky 3. Okay, good. I thought so because I knew that Rocky 2. Well, I had it in my mind that Rocky 2 was like a Apollo Creed Part 2 when Rocky wins the title, right? So, well, Christopher, maybe you're right. But it seems like for a company like Apple, um, it's so weird for them to be left behind like this. Yeah, Hulk Hogan was in Rocky 3 as well. That's right. Um, Mr. T was such a badass in Rocky 3. Like, he was genuinely frightening. He was really scary. I mean, I was probably like 12 or 13 years old when that movie came out, but he was really scary because he just looked like someone who would rip your head off. And then later on, we got Mike Tyson, who was like really the boxer that he was Mr. T in real life. Um, so, oh my God, Trump's voice for a voice assistant. Don't start me on Trump because I know it'll piss some people off if I start. Um, and I don't want to do that. Well, I don't care. I mean, I piss people off all the time, but I'd prefer pissing people off about tech because you can't win an argument in the United States these days. You can't have a conversation about politics. It's all black. It's all like one way this way. You're with me or you're against me. Nobody will even engage in any kind of discussion. uh, who was it? Joshua that was in here the other night, and we decided that I, I think I'm supposed to run for president in 2020 under the slogan "Make America Honest Again," I th- which which would be funny. So yeah, Sneed, I am still rocking the Pixel 2 XL, um, and it's just kind of usually an Android phone will start to bug me for want something or other will be bothering me, but this phone is still working for me. So I don't know if Pixel 3 will be better than the iPhone 10. Um, can you can you trust America? Now that would be a discussion. Um, but the Pixel 3 has the chance to really gain some ground and gain some market share if Google does it right. And I don't know if they're capable of doing it right. So Jeff Bezos is not going to buy Apple. Nobody's buying Apple. Apple's worth $1 trillion. Yeah, that man. I've run for office 3 times, and I have very intense political views. Um, but I've tried not to talk about them. I've tried not to bring politics into the YouTube thing because YouTube comments sections are already bad enough. Um, how did I come up with painfully honest tech? I think so. The channel used to be called the JTL. That's why in my intro and outro I say sometimes known as the JTL because it's just a little kick back to the old days. Um, but I think I had been throwing around painfully honest in in different videos, and at a certain point I was like, the JTL does not indicate to anyone what this channel is about. So I I should probably do something better. And painfully honest had been floating around, so I just decided painfully honest tech. And it ended up being smarter than I thought it would be, because it's not only like, a lot of people have, blank blank tech as their channel name if they have a tech channel. Um, but painfully honest tech is actually like a phrase that describes the channel, and that's what I like about it. So yeah, Apple is close to being the first $1 trillion company, and I think I heard John say on the FPT cast that that wouldn't have happened if Steve Jobs were still around, because Steve Jobs would care more about the products and sort of doing what's right for the things that he felt were important about the products, and not just having multiple. There would never be 8 iPhone models available under a Steve Jobs led Apple. Tim Cook is good at making money. So yes, that's why I don't want to talk about politics. Tech for your needs. It's not that I don't have things to say, but I got to the point. November of 2016 was the indefinite end of my career in politics. Um, because I'd been involved locally pretty heavily with politics, and at that point I was just like, I need to not be uh, associated with any of that anymore. So why would you leave John? Why would you leave John not so nice feedback? He's, I he he's he's doing what he's doing to get people to react, and I like that about him. He's a poke the bear guy. I'm a poke the bear guy, and I like that about him. Sometimes people don't appreciate it. The red hydrogen phone looks like it could be incredibly cool or absolutely ridiculous. I have no idea. Um, yeah, I mean, I really don't know enough about it to say, because I am not going to talk about religion at all, because there's this thing called false consensus bias, where like you're usually surrounded by people who have similar views and values and thoughts um, to you, and so you then think everybody else around you thinks has the same views and values, and only when you open your mouth and realize that you've totally put yourself in a world of shit do you realize that other people think and believe other things than you do, and nothing that I can say will change that. Atheism is religion. It's just, it's like the negative of religion. Thank you, Mo. You get educated over like living more years than, it's like I'm halfway to dead if I live out like the the current like life expectancy for a white man in America. I'm halfway to death, or a little bit more. Uh, I'm reading. I'm reading. Google is Skynet. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but sometimes I think YouTube is Skynet, and they're gonna do something terrible to us one day. But that might just be me. I don't know. How long have I been at this? Let me pull up my little window. Hour 16. I've talked so much today, 2 podcasts and recorded a video, and and now this. My little voice is starting to get scratchy. Well, that's cool, Tommy. Where are you driving? Thoughts on the changes to the subscriber feed? I just made a whole video about that. Um, can you trust YouTube? Put it up yesterday, and it addresses that. But in short, I think that YouTube needs to stop making more problems for themselves before they fix the problems that they've already created. And they should allow people to control their sub box the way that they want to. And, alphabetical order is fine. Maybe they could give us options of different ways that we could look at it. But for them to say, we're going to curate this for you is ridiculous and pointless and not necessary. Charles, good morning. Yeah, it must be morning in the UK. Well, it's early in the morning in the UK, isn't it? What is it, like 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that? Okay. MegaCon. What's MegaCon? Sounds like something I should know about, but I don't think I do. I don't. So all the people that I've featured on the Can You Trust series, I have reached out to them and I've said, hey, do you want to come on my podcast and we can talk about how you do what you do and all that kind of stuff. And so far, like Flossie Carter's, I've been talking back and forth with him about coming on the podcast. But I've reached out to Marquez Brownlee. I've reached out to John Morrison. John Morrison said he would do it, and then he never responded to me when I asked him to. I've reached out to Lou from Unbox Therapy. I've reached out to Linus. Yeah, I'm small potatoes. I'm small potatoes, and they don't have to pay attention to me. But my goal is to get to the point where I think it's important that the big YouTubers have the conversation about how do you ethically go about doing business on YouTube as a reviewer when it becomes when money's more and more of a factor. So okay, so it's like Comic-Con. That's cool. Well, Moises, I appreciate that. Like, honestly, like, I have grown on YouTube at this point more than I ever anticipated growing. Like I a year and a half ago, I had like 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers, and and so 18 months later, here I am, like getting close to 60. And that's crazy. So I can't complain about anything, but I do like to incite people to have conversations, whether or not they want to. Leo, thank you for the $2, man, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate you being here. The spirited discussion that we've been having, it's been awesome. Tim Schofield did one. I'll have to check that out because I didn't catch it, but that's good. So wait, somebody in the comments of one of my videos today said I look like Markiplier at 60. I just didn't know how to react. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Calvin, yeah, thank you. The 10,000, like, that happened fast too. That was just like when the last round of iPhones started to come out and a couple of videos took off. Yeah, so sometimes it feels like it's, oh man, it's gonna slow down, it's gonna do this, it's gonna whatever. And the reality of it is, like, everything is going quite well. And the fact that I'm in it and I'm doing it just makes it seem like it's more, but I don't know. I should just allow myself to do stuff. Would I do small YouTubers on a podcast? I mean, yeah, that's something that I want to do. Um, for sure. One thing I'm trying to do now is I'm really trying to put these people that I've done these videos about, get them on the podcast. Um, and so that's kind of what I'm working on now. And I still am not fully sold on the format that I have now, where I'm the only host. I may try and bring in a co-host, although I don't know who that would be at this point. So the podcast it's out there now. It's on iTunes, Google Play, all that stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, but I haven't quite got it all nailed down yet. Um, I'm 46 years old, okay, which when I was really young, and when like, I'm sure my daughter's 14, 46 sounds like ancient times, but 46 doesn't really seem that old to me now that I'm that age. That's not a bad idea. I mean, I I think I think that would be interesting. I It's something that I would have to figure out, like, would it be like a course that I offer that you could, like, that people could pay for, or I don't know. But I'm still trying to figure out, like, ultimately I feel like I need to nail down, like, how I'm making money. Um because I do want to be able to do this full time, and and I can't do that right now, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Gus, thank you very much for the $10. That's really cool, man. Um, I I try to call BS wherever necessary. Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, like, she's awesome. I really like her a lot. Um, she she really is, like, she should be one of those people that's like, okay, watch how this person reviews this product. That would be that's the nuts and bolts of how to do it right there. Um, it might not be flashy. She might not be shooting with a $50,000 camera, but she covers all the bases. She talks about all the stuff that needs to be talked about. She gives you a good sense of the product, and that's the A, B's, and C's of how it should be done. Plaster Master, I feel the same thing. Like, my daughter is starting high school next year, and I've said that probably 3 times today to different people, and it's still kind of like, not. I don't understand how that's possible. I haven't seen JD Tech TV. Um, I will check. I'll check that out. Yeah, Mo, that's a problem. Like, here's oh, thank you, JTR. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for the $3. Um, I think the problem with being a tech reviewer, especially in the early days, is, A, you need to spend money in order to get the products, so so that you could then um, have something to review, right? But you're not making any money, and I had to just, like, buy. I spent a ton of money in the first 3 years that I was doing this seriously, um, and it was like walking a tightrope. Um, and it's funny because now that now I'm buying less things, which is nice because um at this point I need to like dig myself out of the hole that I made for myself over the past 3 years. And yeah, it's tough. But that's an idea. Maybe I will do some like, A, B's and C's of how to do the tech review thing, because I think there is some value in getting in putting those things out there, and maybe trying to foster some of the ideas that I'm trying to bring into conversation with like the Can You Trust series. If I make a how to do it series, then I could sort of build that into up and coming people. Um, yes, that is why I have so many phone lines. Yeah, because I hear you, man. It's like my daughter has officially become a teenager now. Like she knows everything, and she gets really sassy, and I'm just like, who is this? This is not my child. It's crazy. She's a great kid, but you know. So GB, are you talking about, yeah, Linus? He he was smart enough to see, like, I think even when he was doing NCIX, he knew that that wasn't the thing. He was gonna have to branch out. I mean, he's built his business incredibly. He's really smart, and he's built his business in an incredible way. Um, and I I think that what he's doing is cool. Um, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the $2, and I will always keep at it. Um, painfully honest YouTube startup. Yeah. Um, Charles, add like, okay, let me look at your two things here. Now I gotta scroll up. Um, with first, yeah. So the whole avatar concept. I mean, that's one of the things that I was really intrigued by when I read the book Ready Player One, was this whole sort of other life that you could have outside of the physical world, and that at some point we have the potential to have as enriching a life inside of a virtual world as we could have outside. I That really fascinates me. Um, it would be interesting to see. I think that's closer than we thought it was. Well, Leo, thank you. I mean, I can't complain. Like this, the subscriber growth has been really pretty intense, and but I would like. I think I'm pushing toward 100K. Like that's what I know. It's not that I want to get to 100K because I want to get the play button thing, but I like tangible, reachable goals, and I feel like 100K silver play button, that's going to be sort of like a mile marker, and then another, and then it'll be a step into another era of my YouTube career. But yeah, Charles, I'm right there with you, buddy. I've been there. Uh, I I think I have 7 lines, including my wife and daughter. Um, El Jefe, man, it's good to see you. Doing pretty good tonight. Doing pretty good. I was gonna release a rant video, but I was watching the FPT podcast, and decided to jump in here and do a live stream after they got done. So yeah. So wait, what? Yeah, Ready Player One, the book was really enjoyable and made me think about a lot of stuff. I was ultimately disappointed in the film. Uh, the film didn't quite do what I. It didn't have the same gravity as the book did. Like um, the book really seemed to be asking big questions, and the movie didn't. Michael Lozito, thank you for the $21 Canadian. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, tech free needs. I think that's like everything is sort of exponential, and it just becomes more noticeable the bigger you get. Like, so you hit 100K, and that means that more people are seeing your stuff, and it goes over into another level, and then it just keeps going. Juan, hello to you as well. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Leo. I understand that it wouldn't be fun to watch the main character play, a joust tournament, but at the same time, like part of part of what was so fun to me about that book is like I am the target demographic. Everything that they're talking about in that book, all of the classic games and all of the classic pop culture stuff, like that's the stuff that I grew up with. So I was just totally, you know, geeking out. Um, and the book was really fun for me in that way. I didn't get that nostalgia thing as much in the film, and I don't know. Tech so honest it burns through Chinese products, and I get offered seemingly the same like Bluetooth earbuds and gaming headset time after time, week after week, by different companies from from over in China, and they're the same exact products, just different colors. Um, so I wouldn't mind Ready Player Two. I'd like to go through another book with those characters. Um, if he doesn't write the book before they make a movie, that will be, yeah. But he uh he did release another book, and I read it, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, but I can't right now. But it was pretty good too. I am tired. It's 11:30. I've been up since 7. So I appreciate you recognizing the amount of, the amount that I'm giving here, Nick. Yeah. Uh, I love doing the live streams. I think they're really, really fun. Um, yeah, Armada is the book. That's right. Um, I think they're really, really fun because, I don't go out and do anything anymore. I don't go to the clubs. So it's kind of cool to just sit here and have a conversation with folks. Yeah, it might be from being painfully honest all day. My rant video about Drew's iPhone 6 video, um, it took a lot out of me. It didn't really, but so what future do you see for companies after planned obsolescent news made it to the media? I mean, planned obsolescence has been a thing, at least for in the United States. Like it doesn't do anybody any. It doesn't do the company any good if they're going to make a washing machine that lasts for 20 years. Like, you need a washing machine that somebody has to buy every 4 or 5 years. So I don't know. It's one of those things where we could make much better products for sure, but um, but sometimes it's in the best interest of the company to make a product that will need to be replaced at some point. Well, Nick, I'm glad that you're here. Well, yeah, JTR, I was talking about this earlier, and I don't want to get deep back into it. I've made this video. Something was up with my camera, and I think it might have just been this USB problem. It's kind of choppy. I can't decide if I'm gonna release it or not, because I hate it when people are like, "Oh man, you suck. Your video is choppy." Like, at one time, the Astro A10 review that I had, at some point I had accidentally like rolled my shutter speed way down, and that video was like seizure inducing, and people still complain about it. But what am I gonna do? Take it down? So, um, Juwan, um, I get it from both sides, because I say good things about Apple when there's something good to be said about Apple, in my opinion, um, and that will, and then I might say something like I was a fan of the Galaxy S9, but it wasn't like an end all be all best phone in the world for me. And like, Apple, I will say that the Apple defenders are not nearly as nasty as the Android defenders. um, the Android people are like, they will like try and chew your neck out, figuratively say, but, and I don't quite understand it. They seem to have, and some of these commenters seem to have like a real inferiority complex about Android. Um, and the nice thing is, if I say good things about both Android and Apple, but keep going back and forth, then I get everybody coming into the channel. So, um, yeah, well, Nick, it depends. It depends. Like, if I do release this rant video that, is a response to Drew's iPhone 6 video, Bendgate, um, then I assume there will be a lot of people coming over from Tailosive land who will not be happy with what I have to say. And I'm not saying it to be mean or to, score points or anything. But there are just things about that video that I think need to be considered a little bit more. Um, I did like the Windows Phone. I liked the way the operating system worked, but but couldn't get the if you can't get the app support, then you're not gonna stay viable. I don't. Here's the thing, Richie. What I heard recently was that Apple released this, some guidelines to app developers, and basically said, um, that app developers need to start developing with the notch incorporated into their designs, or at some point they might not get, accepted onto the App Store, which to me says we've got the notch for the next 2 to 3 cycles at least. So, and I don't know how I feel about that. If if the Pixel 3 comes out and is notchless, um, then that's like score one for Google, because um, because the notch is the notch is a compromise that Apple made, and again, it's not a compromise that I think Steve Jobs Apple would have made, if that makes any sense. Uh, Juwan, I mean, I don't know. I like the first time that I had a video like get a bunch of views and I had a big burst of subscribers. Um, it kind of felt like, oh, maybe this is a fluke and it'll only happen this once and then it'll go back to normal. Um, but as I've continued to grow, and it doesn't happen like in a straight line. It's like you jump up and then you tail off a little bit and then you jump up again. Um, I still don't know if I feel like I've arrived. When I can comfortably quit my job and do this full time is when I will feel like I've really achieved something. And that's just for me. I mean, I'm super proud of where I am right now. And the fact that I never really thought YouTube would be a thing that I did seriously. But I'm glad it is. Why do why do I think so many you know, I realized that Apple did it, and Apple is sort of the tastemaker in the phone game, and so it makes sense to follow suit with what they do. But the notch has been so polarizing, and so many people have been unhappy with the notch that I don't understand why Android manufacturers were so ready to embrace it. And it just kind of feels like this is a year of Me Too. And okay, so it is a year of Me Too in another way, but in this phone design way, like everybody's just jumping, like saying, "Me too, me too, I'm doing this too." Um, but this has been a very boring phone year so far. Um, and I hope it shapes up a little bit more interestingly. Yeah, uh, Charles, I think that you're right. I mean, people, no matter what, even though Android has such a larger user base in terms of how many Android phones are out there, um, iPhone, iPhone and Apple, it's like they're the company that really sort of they're driving the bus right now, and for some reason, the notch thing is inscrutable to me. I don't understand why you'd want to take an unpopular feature and double down on it, but you know. I knew that Essential was going to die when and I'm forgetting the guy who was like I'm forgetting his name, the dude who helped develop Android and all that. When he got taken down for some sexual assault stuff, and took a break from the company, I knew Essential was going to go down, and it was just a matter of time. So it doesn't surprise me. Uh, I I I think that there's a future for that phone. It's just not with the company that originally came up with it. I mean, the idea behind the phone was so cool, and the design was actually really cool as well. I don't know. I can't remember if it was Sergey Brin or somebody else. I'm it's I names and time. Like after 11 o'clock, I can't remember anything. Um, but I think it was Ruben. Tech for You News. You might be right. It might have been Ruben, but not sure. Andy Rubin. Yes. Yeah. Um, so I knew when he had that issue and they were already having trouble, like they priced that phone wrong, and then they sold it only on Sprint, and I'm sorry, but Sprint is like the worst carrier in the world. So I don't know. I think we'll see the Essential phone under another brand name sometime soon. Somebody's going to snap that up. I'd be surprised if they did. Man, the StarTAC phones were something. Yeah. I I I never had a Moto Razor, but I did I did have several flip phones. Hey, Windows Phone Live, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the super chat. It's awesome. The Moto, like the budget Moto lines are really, really good. Um, and I it's sort of, I don't know what carriers are going to do when everybody gets wise to the fact that they could buy a phone that works really well for a couple of $100 and not have to lock themselves into paying $40 a month. So it'll be interesting. Sprint, I had Sprint back in the old days, and they weren't like now. Okay, so here's the Sprint store in my town. It used to be like a Sprint kiosk inside of a Radio Shack, and then Radio Shack went out of business, so they just made it a Sprint store. And so now it's like everybody who worked at the Radio Shack works at the Sprint store, and nobody knows how to do anything. Well, as I said it earlier, and somebody just mentioned it in the chat, Nicholas. I think Amazon's going to buy. Amazon's a good contender to buy the Essential phone. If Samsung brings a new sort of like budget line phone with a removable battery, I think that's great. Samsung has, they do have budget phones, but they don't get nearly the attention that like the Moto budget phones or the ZTEs or the any of those guys do. Samsung just kind of like, they put something out with no fanfare. What are you being funny about, Charles? Because I missed it. Um, the Essential phone had $300 million in funding if they sold 100,000 phones for $700. Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I just don't think that I think that they were set to get off the ground and to get a phone out into the world, and that they would have to then, like, the success would come in subsequent models, but they just couldn't get there. Yeah. Well, I mean, the Sprint store may be ridiculous here in my town, but there's no T-Mobile store anywhere within, like, so I live in Iowa City. The closest T-Mobile store is in Des Moines, which is 2.5 hours away from where I live. So I mean, maybe both of them together will actually be good. So, well, I mean, Ari, I think they thought that 360 cam was going to be like a cool thing, um, but I mean, Moto has the Z line of phones, and the thing that, I mean, I like those Moto Z phones. I like them a lot, but as cool as the idea behind the mods was, they have not released a mod that I'd be like, yeah, I gotta have that mod. Like if they released a super hi-fi DAC mod that you could get it, put that on there, have a headphone jack, have a high quality DAC, have some, maybe some extra storage to store music on. If they made that, I would be interested. But I'm not interested in a $400 like projector or anything like that. So tech free needs. The one thing you have to remember about OnePlus as compared to Essential is OnePlus has no U.S. retail presence, and Essential wanted to be in the stores, and that was their gamble. OnePlus makes their money because they don't have the overhead of retail. I think 360 cameras were dead on arrival. It's like it's a cool idea that nobody cares about. No, I don't understand. Like, I don't know. Like you can't see in 360. I never really messed with it too much, so I think I got one of the Samsung phones I got came with the 360 cam. I never took it out of the box. I just sold it on eBay because I didn't care. The U12 looks really cool. Tommy, I didn't know it was going to have 4 cameras, but I've only just sort of seen some pictures. I haven't really looked into the specs of what that phone's going to be. Yeah, I know YouTube can do 360 videos, but I'm just kind of like, why? I mean, maybe if I actually knew what I was talking about, I would understand. But yeah, Juan, yeah, that would do it as well. Video call. As I think about it now, like I know a lot of people use FaceTime or something like that. I can't believe that that's just not the way that we talk on the phone now. Like that we actually still make phone calls. Uh, it. I mean, I don't talk on the phone to anyone ever, but I think that I can't understand why we don't have just FaceTime calls all the time. So made by Marcus, I don't think anything is going to affect Apple's sales. Um, I think a lot of people will look at this as like, that's ancient history, and I don't have an iPhone 6. The important thing to me, um, the important thing to me about it, and what might eventually have some sort of collective effect, is this is yet another time where Apple has made a poor ethical decision on how they were going to move forward with a problem with one of their products. And even though we now know that they knew that phone could bend, they didn't own up to that when it started to bend. And to me, that's just freaking shady. That's freaking shady. Apple's a company that I've been a fan of for many, many, many years, but I got to call that shady. And every time they do something like that with it, so we have this now where we realize that they knew about the potential to bend that phone and they didn't say anything. And then slowing down phones earlier and all this other stuff. Like these things are going to build up. And I think at some point there might be a tipping point where it will accrue to the point where it does damage Apple. But at this point, I don't see it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the bending, I don't know how super rare the bending was, because the bending was a contributing factor to touch disease, and touch disease was an issue for a lot of people. So I mean, they actually changed their manufacturing process to fix the problem. They never told anybody. So the iCloud thing, dude, I'm glad they didn't get my nudes. Uh, I I'm sorry, but if you're gonna take naked pictures of yourself, why would you store them on a cloud service? I th- it seems like not a smart thing to do, but who knows? Um, yeah. So there was you're holding it wrong, and then so there was Apple's had lots of these little kerfluffles where they're not. Yeah, they blamed Antenna Gate first on the customers, and then they were like, okay, we'll give you a bumper. So you could get a free bumper case for your iPhone 4, and that to me is just like it's just like saying, yeah, our product makes you sweat too much. We're gonna send you a headband. It's just, it's like, okay, I'll look like an idiot, but thank you. So right now, so my setup for streaming is I have a Panasonic Lumix G7 that has a non-functioning SD card slot. So I have that plugged into the Elgato Cam Link, and that's what my video feed is. Um, and then audio is just SM57 mic through a DBX S 286S. So it's it's a decent setup, and I think well, of course, a $600 camera is going to look better than the than any Logitech webcam, but it's it's pretty cool. I like it. It's a little wonky sometimes, but it's good. Bendgate is Apple's attempt at curved phones. Yeah. Yeah, Noah, we talked about the snazzy labs iMac thing earlier. And I haven't watched the video yet. I saw it in my feed today. I definitely want to check it out, but I just haven't like had time to sit down and chill. Charles, I don't know what that means, but it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Uh Enrique, yes, that was the beginning of this podcast, was me completely ranting about how awful and like way off point Drew's video was. Um I have a whole video that I recorded that's like sort of a rant, and it's an AC10 in the background. So, yeah, I had it's sitting on a Fender Vibroverb amp that weighs like 40 pounds, and I just don't feel like carrying around heavy amps anymore. So I got the AC10. It's like it's like a little suitcase size thing. It weighs next to nothing. Oh, I see. I see. Commas. Yes. Now I got it. I got it now. Okay. I've actually done a Visa mount thing for one of the iMacs at my job. Um, and so I gotta check out this Nasty Labs video, and I'm gonna do that as soon as I get off here and you know put myself to sleep with some sweet YouTube. Um, yeah, I started my Juwan. I was a musician. I've been a musician since I was really young. I was and I was a singer, did children's choirs and all that kind of stuff from the age of 8 onwards, and then I've been in bands since I was 14. So that's more than 30 years worth of being in bands. I spent 15 years like working my ass off to try and make a living at it. Didn't quite work out. Still did some cool stuff. Um, and I still do music as often as I can to this day. It's my first love. So that's why you see the Vox in the background. So the one thing that was crazy about, so we bought this mount for the iMac at my job. Like the hinge that holds the base onto the iMac is like the spring is super strong. It was really hard to get that mounted onto that computer. So I I haven't seen the Snazzy Labs video, so but you can get you can get you can order an iMac with a Visa mount, but you have to order it through Apple. I don't know if you can do that for the Pro or not. Well, if you want to hear any of my stuff, you can all my stuff is on iTunes or Spotify or whatever service you use. So you could look up Star City was my band when I was in New York, um, or just look up Jason T. Lewis and you'll find more stuff. Oh, is that right? Yeah. So you'd have to drill the screws out. Okay, I'm intrigued by this video, and it's after midnight now, so I'm gonna call it a live stream, dudes, and drag myself off to bed, go into sleepy time. But thank you so much. This has been an awesome chat. You guys have been really cool, and I really appreciate it. Um, so I'll be back again tomorrow with video uh, of some kind, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So anyway, good night to you all. Um, as is always the case, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest. It hurts. Until the next time, I'm out. I'm not out yet because I can't get OBS to pop up. OBS, where are you? So I'm just sitting here. I guess I have to open. I don't know. What if I just say stop? uh, quit OBS. Bye.